We'll call this meeting of the JEA Board to order. I'd like to ask everyone to stand for a moment of reflection, followed by a pledge to the flag. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. We've had an agenda published. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Reverend Newbell. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Green. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Safety briefing. Mr. Zahn.
Thank you. Safety is a core value of JEA. Since we have so many people in the room today, if you wouldn't mind, identify the person to your right. If you don't know them, introduce yourself. Make a friend, because that will be your safety buddy. Can I have somebody call 911? John McCarthy, and who will do CPR? Melissa Dykes, thank you so much. In the event of emergency, identify your safety buddy, make your way to the left of the elevators, and we will proceed in an orderly fashion down the stairs. Please make sure to use the handrail. Cross the street to the southeast corner of Church and Main, and we'll reconvene there. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Before we get started with the I'm sorry, Ms. Brooks, Sunshine Law.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have something to read into the record today,
Okay.
and for the folks that are participating in the solicitation. This is a special meeting of the JEA Board that has been duly noticed. This meeting is an open public meeting pursuant to Section 286.011 of the Florida statutes. This meeting is specifically excluded from Policy 1110 of the JEA Procurement Code concerning the prohibition of ex parte communication. The prohibition of ex parte communication is still in effect after this meeting through the award of a contract. Ex parte communication is defined as oral or written communications relative to a solicitation that occurs outside of an advertised meeting, which this one is one of those such advertised meetings. Just to remind each of the companies presenting today and the board of directors of the policy, I'm going to read the policy verbatim from our procurement code. Ex parte communication denies the company submitting a bid or proposal fair, open, and impartial consideration. Adherence to the procedures that ensure fairness is essential to the maintenance of public confidence and the value and soundness of this important process of public procurement. Therefore, any ex parte communication between a company or its employees, agents, or representatives and the JEA, its employees, members, agents, or representatives other than the Chief Procurement Officer or designee or JEA's legal counsel is strictly prohibited. In an effort to comply with the strict prohibition, we ask that any conversations between the proposing companies and the media, should the proposing companies choose to speak with the media, or others that are not included within this policy prohibition, be conducted outside of JEA's facilities. If anyone at JEA, including the Board of Directors members, receives written or oral communications from any of the proposing companies outside of an open public meeting, should declare ex parte communication with Office of General Counsel and JEA's Managing Director, CEO. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. A couple of preliminary matters before we get started with the scheduled agenda. The public is invited to comment, but in a departure from our typical agenda, that will follow today's presentations. If a member of the public does wish to comment, there are yellow cards at the front of the room, back of the room, that you can complete to be recognized at the time for public comment. In response to Ms. Brooks' statement regarding the nature of ex parte communications and the procurement policy, I would like to ask each of the board members to affirm that they've had no contact with any of the bidders and do so verbally. Ms. Johnson? No contact. Ms. Green?
No contact.
Reverend Newbill?
No contact.
Nor has the chair received any contact. I would note that board member Ms. Flanagan has excused herself from this meeting and any other deliberations or decisions concerning the selection of a corporate headquarters because of her affiliated employment with one of the bidders. And we are missing Mr. Campion, who continues to deal with a health issue, but hopefully will be back for us next month. With that out of the way, I'm going to invite Nancy Kilgovisi to the podium. She has been managing this process for us. While she's coming up, I would like to note that there has been obviously a change in the process and timeline since our last board meeting, and I'll speak briefly to that. it became apparent that as the bids came in and the short list was narrowed by staff and CBRE, that the negotiations for a best and final offer would take longer than we had originally anticipated. It had originally been anticipated that we would be making a decision regarding the corporate headquarters at today's meeting. However, as CBRE worked with our staff and the bidders, look, this is a complicated process. It's a big decision for JEA and the life of this organization. It was clear that we just needed more time. There's been a desire on the part of this board and JEA staff to make sure that the public had ample information about the bidders and ample time to evaluate and respond to that. So for all of those reasons, it became necessary to really push the date back. That process is going to continue, negotiating with the shortlist bidders beyond this meeting. I would like to encourage each of the board members to thoroughly review the materials that are presented today, meet with CBRE staff. Again, it's a big decision. I want to make sure everyone's fully informed. I intend to meet with staff, CBRE, and perhaps the bidders myself, just to get fully informed before our final decision. So that's the reason for the change in the timeline from the anticipated and originally announced decision date of today. Sorry, I left you standing there a long time. Nancy,
No
please.
problem. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I wanted to do a quick update on how we got here. JEA has looked for more than 4 years at a solution for our current buildings. We did a series of studies, one in 2014, one in 2016, with outside consultants helping us to decide whether we should renovate these buildings or look for a new headquarters. During that time, we considered several things, and that was doing a self-build. In the summer, we revisited this and decided it would be fair and we may get better product if we issued a solicitation to see what the market would bring. So that is why we're here now. In July, the board considered selection criteria and revised that again in August. We've done brief reports to our board at almost every meeting, October, December, January. We issued the solicitation that's called an invitation to negotiate on October 15th. The presentation or the responses were due on January 8th and received. We received 6 submittals. We narrowed that to a short list that was announced at the January 22nd board meeting. As Mr. Howard described, we're extending the process. So we're having the public meeting today. This was really an addition to be able to present the information to the public and take public comment. We will continue to negotiate with each of the shortlisted firms. We're planning to have best and final offers from each firm submitted March 11. And then we will have another special board meeting the week of April the 8th. And the board will at that time consider all the information to date. And they will have a separate set of points that they will be able to add to the prior points that have been accumulating for each proposal. And then hopefully we'll have our selection and we'll move forward. The reason for the building, these buildings are aging. They're really too large. We want to be able to scale down, but also provide workforce culture change to be able to retain and attract a workforce and to really plan the buildings solely for JEA's purposes. We've been in these buildings for many years and we adapted them at the time JEA acquired these and has been here since. In the solicitation, we asked for approximately 200,000 square feet of building to accommodate 760 employees with an equal amount of parking for employees, additional customer parking, and some JEA vehicles that are located close by. We also asked for a flexible training center Emergency Operations Center. We have a similar setup here today, but hope we can design specifically for that. We ask in the ITN that the proposal sites be located within the DIA boundary. We did say that there could be solutions presented outside, but they needed to make a good case. We're going to evaluate based on the approved criteria by the board on workforce and culture, customer engagement, schedule timing, the programming elements that we published in the ITN, and economic development for the city. So that concludes my update for that. I also want to talk a little bit about the formatting we're going to use today. There's going to be a little bit of switching, so hopefully we'll flow fairly well. We're having each of the three teams present. They'll have 30 minutes each, 20 minutes for presentation, and 10 minutes with Q&A from the board members on their presentations. Again, we want to ask that no financial information, pricing, or terms and conditions be discussed today at this meeting since we're still in the active negotiations. At a 15-minute mark on your presentation time, Cheryl's going to hold up a yellow card just as a reminder, and at the 20-minute mark, she'll hold up a red card and we'll ask you to wrap up. The board will then go into question and answer. After each presentation, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We're going to allow the teams to switch to the front row, the presenting team. If you'll just move to the back, the ones that are on the front now, and hopefully we'll go fairly smoothly. We've got our tech folks here. You'll see cameras, so we're going to try to get to address the board. It is a board meeting, but also hopefully the public will be able to see and hear the inputs. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Before you leave, would you mind introducing the folks from CBRE who've been working with you? I want to make sure they're recognized.
Sure. Stuart Green is our owner's rep, and we engaged CBRE to help us on the building project in November of 2017. Mike Harrell is our lead real estate consultant and broker. Tess Fleming is support team and was very instrumental in us getting the invitation to negotiate out. And Leanne, I'm so sorry, is here, and she works on the government sector engagement and has done this really all over the Southeast and quite a bit in Florida on government building procurement.
Thank you very much. Stuart, Michael, Tess, Leanne, thank you for all of your assistance. And I know on the JEA team, John and Jenny over there have been hard at work on this as well. So thank you. I really appreciate that. With that introduction, board, I think we're ready for the first presentation. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
So the first presenter is going to be Jacksonville 1C Parcel 1 Holding, and we're using the legal name that each group submitted. This is the Lot J group, the site. So we'll have them come up and
we're going in alphabetical order.
Yes, sir.
So, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lamping?
Well, good morning. Thank you very much, and really appreciate the opportunity to be here. The first question that you probably have is, why is the NFL team here in Jacksonville involved with this process? And a lot of it has to do with the analysis we did at the very beginning 7 years ago when Shad purchased the Jaguars. He purchased an NFL franchise that was in a wonderful, smaller community, but it was also a franchise that had put its fans through any number of years of rumors about relocation and television blackouts. And the first assignment that I had when I came to work for Shad was to try to develop a path that we can ensure that Jacksonville is a NFL city for as long as we can possibly project. So we're committed to Jacksonville remaining an NFL city. And what is the path? We think that the path is in part to create a downtown that is the true heartbeat of our region. A downtown that encourages people to live, to work, and to visit, and a downtown that meets the needs of today's changing workforce so that we can attract and retain the best and the brightest employees and businesses to downtown. That's why we're involved in this process. This is also, from our perspective, why we believe the JEA decision is so important. In many respects, it's a generational opportunity to deliver a transformative neighborhood, to make transformational changes to an existing urban center requires a lot of things. But most important, it requires full-time jobs. And those jobs can leverage significant additional investment into this community. So in addition to providing an exceptional work environment for your employees and an efficient and pleasant experience for your customers, you have a decision in front of you that in many respects puts you in a position to be the catalyst to help downtown Jacksonville realize its full potential. We have a partner in this process. We are not experts in development. We've never suggested that we are. We are financially committed to a successful downtown Jacksonville. And when we looked for a partner, we wanted to find a partner who was successful across the country in facing these types of urban challenges and doing them in the context of winding entertainment with full-time jobs, with residential, with retail, with all the services that today's workforce and businesses required. And I'm proud that we were able to enter into a partnership with the Cordish Company out of Baltimore. And I'd like to introduce Blake Cordish, the president of Cordish Development. Thanks.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. On behalf of my family and thousands of our team members across the country, we're so excited for the potential of working with JEA. It's on a project that has the potential to be so impactful for your community. I have the privilege of being the fourth generation of my family in our business, along with my two brothers. I worked with my granddad for 25 years. I've led our development division with my father, David. We've had the great fortune of becoming a large company over the last 100 years. We're now one of the largest development companies in the United States. We're in a variety of businesses that you can see on the screen. But our raison d'etre, our heart and soul, is in development. And there are a few things that set us apart from most developers. One is that we've focused our energies on place-making development, on revitalizing downtowns, on public-private partnerships. Often of them, they're very high profile. They're mixed use of residential, retail, entertainment, office, things that make a great neighborhood. In recognition of those efforts, I'm incredibly proud to say we're the only developer in the United States that's been awarded with 7 Urban Land Institute Awards of Excellence for our projects around the country. We're a company that believes in long-term ownership and as well as self-financing our projects. So over the last 100 years, we basically still own and operate every project we've ever built. So our perspective is not of one to build and sell quickly. It's to develop projects in partnership with our clients that will be lasting, and make the decisions up front that create the best possible product and experiences for our clients, and ones that are most cost effective over the long term. Self-financing means that we're not dependent upon third parties in our projects. Obviously, it's a major risk factor in many projects. This partnership of Mr. Khan and the Jaguars and the Cordish companies has the ability and will self-finance this project, which gives it obviously great certainty. We have a focus, one of our divisions focuses in working in partnership with professional sports teams in creating these types of districts. We're the leading company in this sector, so it's companies like Comcast in Philadelphia, the Texas Rangers, the St. Louis Cardinals. And it's a very important niche because it leverages amazing anchors to create special places. Finally, what we've done, we typically build over $1 billion a year of new construction. So what we've done to respond to that is develop an in-house team of professionals. We have our own civil engineers, we have our own construction teams, our own architects, et cetera, so that every facet of development we're able to echo a third-party team. I think it's very important that a developer have the in-house expertise, but then bring the best-in-class development teams that you collaborate together on. I'm going to touch on a few projects that we've completed over the years to give you a sense of the complexity and scale, just a flavor of them. We're headquartered in the Inner Harbor of Baltimore, which we've been a part of our renaissance for the last 30, 40 years. We're headquartered in the powerhouse building. In Charleston, South Carolina, we worked with the city over the last 40 years to help revitalize the city in a project called Charleston Place. In Kansas City, over the last decade, we've developed 14 city blocks and over $1 billion that took a dormant downtown into now one that's incredibly vibrant. And the heart of it is the world headquarters for H&R Block. We have arenas. We built the first residential towers in 50 years in Kansas City. And it's been a project that is very close to our hearts and has been incredible to be a part of. Down also in Missouri, in partnership with the Cardinals, we developed 7 city blocks in a project called Ballpark Village. We opened the first phase about 3-4 years ago, and now we're under construction with a $280 million expansion of residential towers, corporate headquarters for PwC, hotels, and other retail and restaurants. In Texas, this past summer, we opened our first phase of a 200-acre, $4 billion project in partnership with the Texas Rangers, adjacent to AT&T, where the Cowboys play. The entertainment opened about 6 months ago. This summer, we'll be opening our flagship Live by Lowe's Hotel in partnership with the Lowe's family, the Tisch family, and Lowe's Hotels. This past year, we opened our flagship Live Hotel in Maryland. So those are the types of projects that we do. They're large, they're complex, they're impactful, and they're important. For JEA, we've assembled what we believe to be the leading team in the United States to assist us and work in partnership with us to deliver your headquarters. I'd point out a few things, if you could turn back one, please, that it's a team that's worked together successfully over a long period of time. The 2 leading consultants of Gilbane and Gensler, Gilbane Construction and Gensler Architects, have successfully completed over 100 projects, almost identical to yours, over the past several decades as a team. Beyer Blender Bell is our master planning designer. They are world-renowned for their work in master planning and urban planning. We've worked with them for over 20 years on projects like Kansas City that I showed you. Gensler is the world leader, architect and interior designer in office. They have completed over 3,000 corporate headquarters, and we've had the privilege of working with them now over 20 years, including in projects like Bayou Place in Houston, Texas. Gilbane Construction is another family-owned business, 5th generation, the 3rd largest commercial contractor in the United States. They typically build about $6 billion in new construction. They've completed many projects in your community here. We're working with them on 2 major projects right now to give you the extent of our experience. This is an $80 million live music venue we're under crane with in Maryland, as well as a $700 million hotel hospitality project in Philadelphia. So this team is a team of really leading experts in each of their fields that we've been very fortunate to bring together that have long-term working relationships. This vision is one that is once in a generation for Jacksonville. This is an opportunity to transform 80 city blocks, an opportunity to create billions of dollars of development and millions of square feet that will become a new catalyst for the future of your community of Jacksonville. It's a project that will be full of great hotels, leading restaurants and retail, residential, and of course office. We're proposing the JEA would be located on the 50-yard line of our vision for the shipyards, immediately adjacent to a major new garage, within the walking distance for all the great amenities I talked about of restaurants, retail. And so much of your decision is going to be not only what creates a world-class building, best-in-class building for your team members on the inside, but what happens in the neighborhood around it when they walk outside. And what we have found for employee retention, for employee satisfaction, those 2 elements are just as important, the outside as well as the inside. We believe this district's, the shipyards, provides an incredibly unique opportunity from those perspectives. It's now my privilege to introduce the principal from Gensler that we've worked, as I said, successfully with, that will give you some more details on the proposed building. Thank you.
All right. Good morning. At Gensler Architects, we really believe in the power of design to transform people's everyday lives. So when you talk about JEA as a company driving workforce cultural change, that is something that really speaks to our hearts. And we're going to talk to you about 3 ways that we're doing this through our design for JEA. Those are people, place, and performance. For people, you are all about your customers. We've taken the customer center and put it first and foremost to really express that commitment. Clear wayfinding, directly adjacent to parking and off of a plaza. The most important people, however, the people that provide that service, your employees. We have from the minute they walk in the front door till they get to their desk, we've given them collaboration, efficiency, and security. 3 things that we know are core to JEA as a company. When we talk about place, there are a lot of things that we've done with the basic program of the building to reinforce JEA's brand in the building. The skin is really respectfully talking about the transparency of JEA as a company. It's a beautiful, well-lit building, but it really is talking to your transparency. We think that's important from your brand. We've located solar panels on the tall roof. We've located a green roof below. We know you're a company that is world-renowned for metrics. You're really driving excellence. Your building needs to talk about that. You are also a public company. We've created a plaza outside of your building for customer events, employee events. Maybe it's something that's tied to the overall district. We think this is really important that we design to reinforce JEA's brand, and most importantly, performance. Gensler, like Blake indicated, has designed specifically for the energy sector a number of headquarters. That expertise will allow us to work as a strong partner with you to deliver a building that will not only work day one for your employees, for your clients, for collaboration as an emergency operations center, but will work in 5, 10, and 15 years. Gensler's experience will allow us to be an incredibly committed and impactful partner to drive cultural change for JEA. Thank you.
I'm sorry, what was your name?
Sorry. Dawn Gunter with Gensler. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Zed Smith. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the Cordish Companies. I just wanted to touch on some aspects of our vision for the shipyards. Even though JEA started this process only about 4 months ago in terms of identifying a location for their headquarters, the Cordish Company, along with our partners, have been working in Jacksonville for over a year. And what's important for us, and as we imagine what this district will be in the future, smart technology will be a cornerstone of what we've done, what we will do. We've partnered with Johnson Controls. They've been very active with the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Canton, Ohio. We think that with their partnership, we can develop the shipyards into a world-class destination, touching on those principles of smart technology that engage parking, that will engage the Bay-Jax Innovation Corridor, bringing autonomous vehicles to the corridor, high-speed internet technology, guest-facing applications that really bring the whole district together. That is from the inside of your building as well as to the outside of your building, bringing all the elements together to deliver a world-class environment that's technologically advanced. Secondly, we wanted to talk about and focus on the benefits of this district and how those benefits will assist JEA in expanding their vision for their culture that they want to create, the experiences that they want to create for their workers and employees, the experiences that they want to create for their guests. So we will partner with JEA and design a benefits program that really addresses how the vision of JEA, its vision for the future, our vision for the district all comes together so that this does become the heartbeat of Jacksonville. In terms of schedule, again, we've put together a world-class team that's worked together over multiple projects. With that in mind, we are very confident that we can deliver on the schedule that JEA has envisioned for the development of the new headquarters. And lastly, I just want to leave you with just the fact that we are so proud of this opportunity. We've been working with the Jaguars, as I mentioned, for over a year now, and we just very confident that we can deliver this project on time and really have an impact on the city for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. we've got 10 minutes for questions, and I just ask Mr. Lamping, if you and your team, Mr. Cordish, Ms. Gunter, Mr. Smith, could just come to the podium. I'm not sure who's going to be the point person or if questions get bounced around.
If it has to do with football, I'm not answering it.
And so let me just start by saying thank you for the presentation, very impressive, and an impressive team. Are there any commitments, maybe this is to Mr. Lamping or Mr. Cordish, any commitments from other prospective tenants or developments at this moment, or would JEA be the first?
JEA would be the first, and we would follow JEA almost concurrently with the development of the Live District, be next to the building. Okay. You know, we've had very, very good discussions regarding other potential office tenants as well as a hotel operator. So,
I don't know the answer to this question, and I don't know if you do, but one of the issues for JEA is accessibility for our customers to be able to get to us. We still have a number of customers who actually physically come down, open their account, pay their bill. I don't know, is Ms. Stewart here? What kind of numbers do we have coming to our building per customer account these days? I may or may not have asked to have this information available.
Slightly more than half of our customers frequenting the central business office here downtown reside in 3 zip codes that are designated by their census tract as being disadvantaged zip codes, and that's 32206, 32208, and 32209. They all have a high density of low-income households, and again, they make up over half of our customers that meet us down here. That come to open accounts, they come to pay their bills. We have a large number of customers that are on our prepay billing system, and they come down and prepay their bills. I'm trying to get the average number, but I do know the breakdown of the zip codes where they come from. I can get you that total overall number.
The concern is these people are relying on public transportation to come and meet with their utility provider, JEA, and I don't know how you're serviced with public transportation out there if you're working with JTA to address that issue.
well, look, let me answer that question 2 ways. First, there's not a site in this entire community that's more used to handling a lot of people coming in and out. We do it virtually every day and do it very efficiently. As far as public transportation is concerned, we're right in the middle of the proposed Bay Street autonomous vehicle corridor. The plan would also include actually a loop that would go through the Lot J development next to the JEA building. So we have the benefit of a lot of property. We have a benefit of a lot of existing parking. We have a benefit of a lot of unused parking that's currently there. And the idea of being able to create a neighborhood where your customers come, and whether it's to set up a counter to pay a bill, but also have the opportunity to do other things while they're downtown, I think that would be a benefit.
Thank you. Can you, and I'm sorry, we're going to go around. I'm just taking off my 3 or 4. So, and I should just say to the other bidders, this is a board decision. We're going to take more than 10 minutes if we need it, and we'll take time with you too. It will not eat into your allotted time. And make notes of the questions being asked. You might be asked the same thing. Talk to us about timeline from word go. I didn't see that addressed in your presentation. Maybe Mr. Cordish, you do a lot of this. Assuming that we say yes, what you've proposed, what's your timeline?
Well, as Zed Smith mentioned, we've been working on the project for a long time prior to this process with JEA, which I think is a huge benefit, frankly, for the timeline for JEA. So we're the team behind that we described is already onboarded. So people like Genzer and Gilbane, they're already working with us. So we're committed to start construction within 11 months of selection, if we were to be selected. Our construction period is 18 months after commencement of construction. Those are conservative dates in our mind, and if we could expedite if that was preferential. It's not our recommendation. We think the timeline we are suggesting gives JEA enough time to collaborate with us on the best decisions. And what we're proposing is there be weekly meetings set up with key stakeholders from your team, with our entire team, because there should be obviously a collaborative process that gives you, JEA, enough time to make those critical decisions. But once again, that schedule I gave you we're very, very confident on.
Okay, thank you. Stay at the podium. I got one more for you.
Yes, sir.
I went to your website, and it's an impressive list of developments and accomplishments. I've actually been to several of your venues and enjoyed them all. But I couldn't tell from your website what percentage of your portfolio is in office space, similar to what we're proposing here.
The majority of our districts have office within them. So we believe the best places are a mixture of uses, so that you will see great restaurants and cafes and retails, hotels, but office is a major component of what we have developed and operate. It's for companies like Ernst & Young, for PwC, for Fox Sports, for H&R Block, and the list goes on. So one of the things that we believe our strengths that we can provide JEA is that we're one of the largest developers in the country, and we develop across a variety of product types. And so that, because the best destinations, right, are these city placemaking and versus a standalone office building. But to directly address your question, we have millions of square feet of office that we have developed and operate and manage today.
And do you have a management affiliate that provides management services for your office space?
Yes, sir. So our preference would be to manage, we would manage everything in the district. It's certainly a decision we would make collaboratively with JEA, and if JEA preferred another management company, that's absolutely, we'll work with your preference, but certainly our preference and expertise in management, that would be what we would recommend.
Thank you, Mr. Cordish. Ms. Gunter?
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think that's why this is such a strong partnership. We are one of the world's leading designers of headquarters office buildings. We design from the inside out. We design the most efficient office buildings in the world. It's not uncommon for us to have, even in a down economy, 93% of our buildings occupied before they've even come out of the ground because of the value. So our commitment to Cordish and to JEA is that expertise will be guaranteeing you a world-class office building with a very sound development team.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, Reverend Newbill?
Yes. Thank you for the presentation. And I would like to know if there is a plan in place, whether it is for JEA or any of your buildings that you've done in the past, as it relates to the local contractors, subs, and small and disadvantaged businesses.
Yes, sir. Again, as I said earlier, we've been working in Jacksonville for over a year now. I've met with a number of small minority contractors as well as small local businesses. That's something that's a core value for our company. Across our portfolio, we've worked with minority contractors, small business contractors. We set goals within our development schedule and within our development process, and we have consistently met those goals. So it's a big part of what we do. We've done it all over the country, and we'll certainly do it here in Jacksonville.
So you do have a mentoring program for those companies locally?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we've over the years and many years of doing this, we've created what we think are best practices in terms of working with small contractors, minority contractors. We work with the local universities in terms of creating apprenticeship programs. Our idea is to get as many small businesses and local businesses engaged in our developments as possible, and that starts on the front end very early on, and that's why I've spent some time here meeting with some of the local contractors to define and determine what some of the deficiencies are. Why aren't they getting those opportunities? And that helps us shape a game plan that we think will make us more effective in this space.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Ms. Green.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Most of my questions have been answered, but more specific to Board Member Newbill, in your final submission, will you be specific in what percentage you will try to utilize local contracting?
Yeah, I take it and
sure,
you
sure.
jump in.
Okay,
We're going to tag team this one. Let me just expound a little bit. Zed, we've been partners for 20 years. And one of his principal responsibilities as COO of our company is to make sure that you often hear the term of goals for percentages. They aren't goals. And if you look at our track record, take away words, just look at our track record, we have exceeded every goal we have ever been given by a public sector for MWB participation. And what Zed was referring to, it's beyond that. It's not just, all right, we're going to have 25% or 30% or whatever and exceed that, because that's a core value of who we are. But it's to create these best practices that no one else is doing. And if we had more time, we'd love to walk you through what they may be, what they are, in terms of things, because it's not just making sure that the subcontracting community gets jobs or that they're MBE firms in prime positions. We developed the first casino in the United States with an MBE firm in a prime position. That the $4 billion project in Texas Live with an MBE firm in a prime position. But then it's where the jobs are going. Who actually gets the jobs? How do you bridge the gap from being trained to getting in a job and then give someone upward mobility? So this is our track record, once again, given the time limits today, but we'd love to expound upon it. And I think what Zed's leadership has done for our company is the thing I'm frankly most proud of as a company. Because at the end of the day, the impact here, yes, we can help, if you make this decision, help transform a major part of your city. It'll affect it for generations. But also those jobs, those benefits have to resonate here locally. And that's our job with the Jaguars. We happen to have ownership here that's local, but we've worked really hard to be able to do that successfully across the country.
Thank you.
If I could just add one thing to that night. As I mentioned earlier on, we're sort of in a unique position, okay? And because we're not developers. But I can tell you this, the success of this project is going to have a legacy as it relates to what people think about a very, very valuable asset, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we can't afford to come in and do a project that doesn't provide great things for the community. This isn't a project that simply we do and then we move on to the next project. We will live and breathe this through the life of the building and JEA. And no one will have a greater incentive to do what's right by this community than the Jacksonville Jaguars, because if we don't do that, it's going to impact our business. And I think our record in terms of community involvement is really, really good. Thank you.
Anything else, Ms. Green?
No.
Ms. Johnson.
Thank you for your presentation. All my questions actually got answered, so I appreciate it.
Reverend Newbill?
Can I follow up just a minute?
Sure.
Can I request some historical data from them?
Absolutely.
As it relates to that? Yeah.
Sure. Great. You just make that available through Nancy Vesey right behind you? That'd be fantastic. And then she'll share it with the entire board.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else have questions for the Lot J team? Thank you. Impressive presentation. Really appreciate you being here. So we're going to take a couple of minutes to allow them to transition out?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Our next presentation is from Nancy. Did you want to introduce them?
You're welcome.
Thank you. Our next presentation is from Kings Avenue Station P3. Mr. Blanky. By the way, in the interest of full disclosure, I just note that my law firm has previously represented affiliates of Mr. Blanky. We don't currently represent him or any of his affiliates.
Thanks. So I'm assuming this is working here?
We'll find out.
Try this one. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Thanks to JEA staff and board and CB Richard Ellis for allowing us to be here today. It's kind of deja vu. I remember in 1979, I worked over on Broad and Forsyth Street, and my girlfriend at the time worked right in the same building, and I can remember when I'd come meet her for lunch, I'd have to walk in the street because the sidewalks were so crowded. That's when, all the department stores were downtown. And so it's exciting to see Jacksonville doing something like this, because I think we're on our way back to making it the dynamic downtown that we all want it to be. My name is Michael Belanke, and I'm a proud third-generation Jacksonville native. I'm also the president and CEO of Chase Properties. We will be the development partner for this particular project. Everyone in this room is witnessing what will be a historic decision for JEA in the city of Jacksonville. The trustees at JEA have a monumental task regarding the decision as to where and how to construct a state-of-the-art new facility. This project will be a generational decision, as Mark stated earlier, which will be analyzed, challenged, and critiqued for decades to come. We have but one chance to get it right. It will take careful analysis, courage, and conviction to find the right location for JEA, its employees, and its taxpayers. For Jacksonville to be the progressive city that we all want it to be, we must commit ourselves to learn from the mistakes of the past regarding the locations of government buildings. The current administration has bravely stated that they intend to correct some of the mistakes of the past by relocating the Duval County jail and possibly the Duval County School Board building. The decision for JEA's new headquarters will take equal amounts of courage to make sure we get it right. That being said, I'd like to introduce you to my extraordinary team and explain to you why the Kings Avenue Station P3 should be the winning application for the dynamic new addition to Jacksonville skyline. I'm going to ask my team members to stand while I go over each particular team. As we stated, Chase Properties will be the development partner for this particular project. Parkway Property Investments will be the office development partner. Irvin Levin and Miller and Roland DeValier and Bradley will be the architects. Connie Turner Design will handle interior design and space planning. Kimley Horn and Associates will handle civil engineering and planning. Atlantic Engineering Services will handle structural engineering. TLC Engineering will handle mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. RTA Consulting will handle parking, design, and consulting. And Brassville Gorey will be our general contractor. Thank you for being here today, guys. As you can see, we've selected the best of the best for each of the particular disciplines required to design and build a world-class sustainable project. We believe it is certain to be an award-winning project and will likely earn a LEED Silver Award for its sustainable design. While all our teammates are either based in Jacksonville or have a strong Jacksonville presence, they also have a very strong national reputation. So you can rest assured that there will be a total focus, scrutiny, and attention to detail on every phase of this particular project. This team has participated in billions of dollars in design and development for a myriad of award-winning projects, and they will bring that same cachet to JEA for their new JEA headquarters. We hope you'll take the time to appreciate what we've designed and the detail we have put into the project to date, and we want you to know we're in it to win it. So here's a list of our team's more notable projects. Chase Properties, my company, has been developing high-profile, high-end, mixed-use, and high-rise residential projects in Jacksonville for up to 20 years. We've amassed multiple state and local awards, and we believe that speaks to the volume as to our portfolio. Parkway Properties has more than 30 years of office industry experience. Parkway is one of the nation's leading office development and management companies, many of which you know. They have done over $10 billion worth of commercial transactions just in the last decade, and they rank as one of the most active investors in the Sun Belt. They have actively owned or managed a number of Jacksonville's most notable buildings, including the Wells Fargo Tower downtown. Now I'd like to introduce you to Steve Lovett with Irvin Levin and Miller, and Steve will enlighten you as to some of the team's project experience. Steve?
Thank you. It's great to be with you all this morning and have the opportunity to speak about what really is an exciting opportunity for JEA. As Mike talked about, and as we introduced the team, as this property and this project came across our office as an opportunity, we specifically made specific recommendations for members of the project team that were tailored uniquely to this particular project. Most of the team, as Mike said, is local, which provides really a lot of accountability. We are not going to be leaving this community. The legacy of what we do on your behalf is going to be something that we are going to live with and we are going to be proud of. Not only local, but our office happens to be just a few hundred steps north of this particular project site. So we have, and we own our building, we have a very unique level of interest in the quality of the outcome of this particular project. And more than that, we offer immediate accountability to be able to deal with any issue that may come about with respect to anything, just due to our proximity, and several other members of the project team are similar. As we go through the slides ahead, we have a few examples of some of the work that our team has done together. Oh, I see. This is for me to do. Our entire team has worked together, and there's a great deal of familiarity between our various members of the consultant team. Every one of these projects that you see here was done by 2, 3, or more members of the project team in collaboration together. That familiarity creates the ease of work together. It creates efficiency, which translates into value as it relates to time, schedule, and resolving issues before they become costly, perhaps during construction. We're very experienced in commercial office buildings, corporate office buildings. Our architecture partner, Roland Devalier Bradley, has done more than 4 million square feet of corporate headquarters offices, including the new buildings at web.com and Availity, to name just 2. And those projects have been collaborations working with a large number of the project team, including Connie Turner with interior design, RDB as architects. We have been the project planners and landscape architects, and Brassfield and Gorey has been the general contractor. I'd like to introduce Eric Sharp, principal with Brassfield and Gorey, to talk just a little bit more and illuminate a little more about the project team.
Thank you, Steve. Well, first of all, it's an honor here to present our qualifications as part of the King Avenue solution to your project, and so we're very thankful for that. I was asked to really accentuate our experience with the consultants and how we've really worked together. Irvin Lovett Miller and Brassfield and Gorey go back over 15 years when we first developed and constructed the Laterra at the King and Bear at the World Golf Village. And on the coattails of that project, we've worked very closely with Roland Devalier and Bradley in developing many office buildings at Flagler Center for Flagler Development Company. And that experience really has brought us to the projects we're now constructing for Van Trust off of Butler Boulevard and Gate Parkway for both web.com and Availity. Office buildings, really at the core to their success is the efficiencies that come with having built them before and knowing how to build them, and that experience that we've had with our consultants, including many high-profile tenants in town, from CSX, their intermodal and IT headquarters, to Fidelity Investments, Dreamfinder Homes. It really comes from the collaboration of knowing your partners and knowing that you can work very closely with them to achieve the client's goals. Brassfield and Gorey has over 12 locations in the South, in metropolitans that compete with Jacksonville. We're building build-to-suit office buildings very similar to this one, and so we applaud your approach because you're going about it the right way. This project site is unique. We were asked to put budgets together in a fairly short time frame. We spent a lot of time kicking Mike's property and kicking the tires. The infrastructure's in place, it's pad ready, and we're ready to hit the ground running. And so it's very exciting having a project that is as clean as theirs is. And then finally, as a contractor, I just wanted to say thank you again for your commitment to safety. I think you opened with a safety moment. In addition, we certainly look forward to our first opportunity with JEA. We have worked with other utilities, Southern companies, Duke Power, and American Energy, and it's equally as important for the client to understand the importance of safety as it is to us. And so we appreciate your attention to that, and we know that everyone that comes to this project will leave and be able to go home safely. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp.
Thanks, Eric. So let's talk about some of the advantages to this particular thing. Well, Steve, I'm going to let you get into some of these site benefits first.
Sure,
okay?
sure. This particular site is really unique in Jacksonville, and we think it has some peculiar advantages as you're considering making a decision about where your new headquarters goes. The location of the site is immediately conjoined with the downtown South Bank district. It reaches under I-95 and is immediately proximate to the Kings Avenue Garage, which is presently an underutilized 1,680 space parking garage. We see a real opportunity with this as a public utility to really make use of a public investment that has so far been under-realized in terms of its benefits back to the taxpayers. So we anticipate the development of this particular site using that particular garage as an already constructed element to support this particular project. There were several goals that we had when we looked at the site. We looked at the opportunities that it presented. One was to create an inspired, beautiful campus for the employees, something that's resilient, that reacts to today's employment habits, but also reacts to the form of life and work for tomorrow's that we may or may not be able to anticipate. The connections we see are superior in this site. The discussion that we had a few minutes ago about the number of patrons of JEA, the customers that are visiting the site, we're immediately adjacent to the Skyway, to the bus rapid transit. They provide transit connection immediately adjacent to our site throughout the region, the direct access to the airport, and ultimately JTA's proposed autonomous line will also be in this location as well. There's also a tremendous amount of walkability. The connectedness that we have on this particular site to already existing restaurants, to already existing employment centers, to already existing residential development, and the path of growth for hundreds, if not thousands, of additional residential units that are proposed at the district, that are proposed on the waterfront, and that are proposed elsewhere in the downtown South Bank district. This site is out of the 100-year flood zone. We've had one of the worst experiences in Irma. I think all of us experienced it in one way or another. This site remained dry and accessible via Irma, through Irma, and the conduit, the main conduit on Kings Avenue to the south, connects to maybe a quarter-mile south to a major interchange with I-95 that provides regional access to and from really throughout the region. So it's very much the easiest access, and it's in close proximity to I-95, which provides a very visible presence for JEA to the public and presents itself really beautifully to the public. We'll talk about the site plan. The JEA site is located in the northwest corner of the Kings Avenue Station property. We talk about longevity working together. We began working with Mike Belanke and Chase Properties on this property in 2005, and we were part of the process to get hotels, the 2 Hilton Hotel flags approved on the property. Again, making use of the underutilized public investment in the garage and using them for a hotel use. The JEA site would be immediately north of that. Hardly can think of a better neighbor than the hotels and the JEA property. Immediately to the west of the site are multifamily, under construction offices, commercial, and then the connection, of course, to the north into the South Bank and connections to transit. The site plan indicates that this could be the first of subsequent future office development in this location. So this provides an opportunity to utilize the garage and to synergize the balance of the site and become part of a larger whole that would create a critical mass in this location of activity and become a very desirable location. Talking about planning, Connie Turner has done some very well-known and award-winning projects as the interior designer. And so we've explored your design program, looking at conceptual floors, looking at conceptual workspaces, how to optimize those workspaces, and really the issues of security, access, and the utilization of space has really informed the design solutions that you see presented here. We'll run through a few of these quickly, but as you see, we see this as an opportunity for JEA to have a very visible presence in the region. We think that's important. I-95 in this location has roughly 155,000 trips a day. That's 55 million trips a year that JEA in this location has the opportunity to create a remarkable billboard and expression to the community. Looking to the south, the mid and upper floors will have views of the river to the north, a very welcoming sense of entry from the courtyard space internally, and again from the mid to high floors, the way San Marco is a peninsula, marvelous views to the south, even over the river, 270 degrees of the compass. Now Mike is going to come up and talk as a matter of summary about really 10 compelling reasons and advantages that this particular site presents.
Thanks, Steve. Obviously, we're very excited about this location and have been for quite a long time because of the assets that Steve talked about that are inherent already here. What we love about this particular concept is that this can be a JEA solely focused concept, if you will, and the success of JEA will stand alone here regardless of what happens around it, and we think that's very, very important. We talked about the 1,650 space parking garage. That's a tremendous asset that's already in place that doesn't have to be constructed. So obviously that saves a lot of time and a lot of money, which is key in any type of development whatsoever. We've got it's pad ready, and we believe it's the only pad ready site. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to have to happen with other sites that we'll talk about in a minute, but this one, we already got infrastructure in place. We actually sized the infrastructure when we built the hotel to handle additional development on this particular site. So that's already ready to go. There's already retention on site. So all those things are very, very valuable, and they help us create a more economically feasible project for JEA. Land use and zoning is already in place, so there's no lengthy regulatory process that we'll have to go to, which again, that's just one more big approval that we don't have to worry about. Commercial office is already pre-approved for it. There's no DDRB approval required. That doesn't mean that we won't go through the same strenuous exercise to make sure it's planned exactly the way the city wants it to and planned exactly the way JEA wants it to. Our belief as developers are that we want to give the client what the client wants from the client's point of view, not necessarily from our point of view, but from your point of view. And so we will work together hand in hand with you, our team will, to make sure that we get you exactly what you want and exactly what you need from your perspective. We think that's critical. This particular site was the home of Jacksonville's first transit-oriented development. When we went to the JTA back in 2003 and finally when we signed the deal in 2005, it was celebrated by Mayor Payton at the time, the city council, and it was a really big deal. We think we're ready for the next big thing to occur here, and we believe this is it. As Steve mentioned, the connections to the BRT, the automated Skyway, the airport shuttles, the Riverwalk, it's just an exciting location, as well as having the hotels next door. One of the most significant things about this site we think that makes it unique is the no remediation requirement. The site got a clean phase 1 back in 2005, and so we think that could save a tremendous amount of time and obviously a tremendous amount of money versus sites that may require much more of that. The visibility is amazing. The access to I-95, the signage value alone is just absolutely phenomenal. Like Steve said, 55 million cars a day will pass this particular location, which we think makes it iconic for Jacksonville. Having MD Anderson right there with it as well. You've got two gorgeous new facilities that are the gateway to our city. And then again, the hotels are perfect both from a visiting out-of-town perspective. JEA has a lot of out-of-town visitors. They can stay right next door. They've got a Hilton Garden Inn, which is a short-term stay, as well as the Hilton Homewood Suites, which is a long-term stay. And then the event of any unfortunate catastrophes or emergency situations, staff has a place right next door where they can stay for an extended period of time if they need to, or out-of-town support if they need to as well. We are, as far as we know, the only applicant that has complete control of their site to date. So we think that's critical. That can be a very, very time-consuming process. I'm not really sure where the other two are, but we understand that we know for sure that we have control. That's all we'll say about that. We also have the unique advantage of being the only firm that's done 25 consistent years of development in Jacksonville. We think that's important. We know who the players are. We know where those speed bumps are. We know how to get around those, and we think that gives us a real unique perspective to help you guys move through the process quickly. In development, we're famous for saying time guts a deal. and we've seen that with a lot of development projects that just seem to languish and don't get going. We think we have the ability to keep that from happening on this particular project, and we'd work hand in hand with JEA to ensure that. Another advantage we have is, as you know, the district is going to be hopefully coming out of the ground pretty soon as well. We think the JEA headquarters site, which you can see in the background there, has all the advantages of an entertainment district without any disadvantages of an entertainment district. In other words, they'll be able to walk across the street and enjoy all the lodging, the restaurants, the retail services, but they won't have to deal with the traffic and security concerns that they may have to. We think JEA's constituents will really appreciate the ease of being able to get in and out of that building as well, and not have to really figure out, you know, what that process looks like. And so we think that's a strong advantage. So let's just kind of go down the checklist and talk about what we've just witnessed. The Kings Avenue Station has a pad-ready site with infrastructure in place. Check. The land use and zoning is in place. Check. It does not require DDRB approval. Check. We've got an award-winning development team in Jacksonville that's been doing this for 25 years in Jacksonville. Check. Existing transit-oriented development on site. Check. No environmental remediation, check. 1,650 space parking garage in place, check. Visibility and access to I-95, which is huge, check. And then the hotel on site, and presently the only applicant with control of the sites, check, check. So for all those reasons, we believe that Kings Avenue Station is the best site for this particular project. There's 4 critical components to a successful real estate transaction: location, timing, experience, and economics. We've been asked not to talk about economics today, so we'll honor that request. We think we win on the other 3, and we think in the long run we're going to look really well on the economics as well. But after all the analysis, we hope that you'll agree that Kings Avenue Station is the best location, and our team is the best team to help deliver to JEA and the taxpayers the best opportunity of all. Thank you so much for your time here today.
Thank you, Mr. Blank. Appreciate your presentation.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson, we'll start at your end this time.
Thank you. You talked about the advantages of certainly being in 100% control. Talk to me about timeline, because certainly that accelerates the timeline, like you said, without having to buy the property, et cetera.
Right.
What would the timeline look like from start to finish?
Well, from the time the project would be awarded, like I said, we don't have to. We can skip the regulatory process altogether. We can skip any remediation issues altogether. We don't have negotiations for the property. So there's really nothing that we need from the city as far as that's concerned. So assuming a very conservative start day one from the day of the award, we're projecting 30 to 31 months for design and completion. Could easily go much quicker than that, but we'd rather underpromise and overdeliver.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Green.
Impressive local presence. And with that being said, this is a very tight area in terms of the existing development that's there. Do you anticipate, especially based on the conversation we had earlier about accessibility for customer service, do you anticipate any road work, road widening, and access to the building for the day-to-day employees?
Yeah, it's a good question. River Place Boulevard is going through some construction right now, which should be beautiful. It's going to be the new gateway kind of into downtown, and there's been talk about extending that right down Kings Avenue as well. We see almost every parcel on Kings Avenue has been purchased already, and you're going to be seeing more retail and more stuff go up there, particularly after the construction starts with the district. And we believe Montana, there'll be some improvements potentially for that. We've seen some designs that JTA has done that would improve Montana and widen Montana, which would give you a great gateway into the district development site as well as to this site. So yes, we would anticipate that happening as soon as the new density starts to occur there. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Reverend Newbill.
Well, the same question I had with the prior company. I know you're local.
Mm-hmm.
What does your local numbers look like as it relates to small, minority, disadvantaged businesses?
Well, first, I'm a proud recipient of the Small Business Leader of the Year Award for the state of Jacksonville and for the city of Jacksonville and the state of Florida. I was a national delegate to the SBA Advisory Board and a member of the SBA locally. I worked hand in hand with Janice Donaldson and Dr. Salter out at the Small Business Development Center out at UNF, and I've owned small businesses in Jacksonville for many, many years. So we have, as part of our staff, as part of our team and our ownership group, we have women and minority-owned businesses represented, and we're really big on that. So yes, we will make it. I actually started the First Coast Micro Loan Program, which would help the minorities and get funding for small businesses. So we're as sensitive to that as anybody is, and we put our money where our mouth is. That was a chamber-sponsored program that we work with, and so we're very committed to that. Reverend Newbill, to answer your question, yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We told you to be ready for that question. Ms. Stewart, did you say it was 11,000 customers per month come to the downtown office?
Yes, sir.
So I don't know if the Lot J people are still around. I'd asked a question previously about accessibility, and just for all the shortlist bidders, we have 11,000 customers of JEA a month that physically come to our offices. Approximately half of those come from disadvantaged zip codes, and we make the assumption that they're going to be relying on public transportation. So I appreciate you highlighting that accessibility as part of your presentation. A couple of follow-up questions, Mr. Blanky. So campus size, just make sure I understand this. You're talking about the pad that's where I parked to eat at the Bearded Pig, isn't it?
That's correct.
What you going to do about my parking when I go over to the Bearded Pig?
Those guys are going to be so happy that JEA is there, because I know there are a lot of Bearded Pig fans that work in your building, trust me.
So,
and there's parking that's going to be available. There is parking available now, the underneath the bridge that was paved. And then we are going to be discussing, matter of fact, our engineers have already been in discussions with DOT about parking the rest of that area underneath the I-95. And then long-term, the advantage to this garage here is that we can actually add 2 floors over time to that garage should there be additional density built on that particular
Okay,
site.
well, that helps. You anticipated my next question.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, let me go back to the first question.
Sure.
That's, in my mind, a small site. So talk to me about the size of that parcel and your footprint.
Okay. The parcel is 41,560 square feet, okay. So it's just under an acre, okay. And our footprint is roughly half of that.
So there will be some green space around.
There will be, yeah, and some minimal surface parking available. And there'll be a circulation for people to drive through. There'll be a drive, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's designed into the project.
So drive through, but if customers want to come in, they'd park in the garage.
That's right. They can park in the garage, or they can park right under 95, which is literally about 60 feet away. They can park. There's a plethora of parking right there, and an abundance of handicap parking right there, which would be the closest thing for them.
And do you control the parking garage?
We control half of the garage, correct. Yes.
So
825 spaces.
Okay. We got a lot of employees.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy, did we specify parking minimum?
Yeah, we covered the minimum.
Covered the minimum.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. In terms of the high visibility, I appreciate the fact that you're going to be right next to I-95 with those 55 million cars a day. That's impressive.
A year.
Not a day.
Oh, yeah.
We're not New York yet.
So, talk to me about noise and noise control. And this may be one directed to the engineers or the architects, but I'm sensitive to the fact that high speed, lots of traffic could be a noise issue for our employees.
Obviously, it's a design consideration that you have to take into effect, but you'll see office buildings throughout the world, and some of their favorite locations are right on interstates. It's a very dynamic location, a lot of movement, obviously, very cosmopolitan, and the proximity to the interstate for this building is no closer than what you'll see in every major or minor city, for that matter, across the nation, across the world. So it just has to be designed accordingly, and our budgets accommodate that. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions? Follow up?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Belanky.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Again, we'll take a few minutes to allow the next bidder. Just one more minute. Our next bidder is Ryan Companies U.S. Mr. Deek.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity to present to you. We're excited to share a little bit about who Ryan Companies is, a little bit about our site, why we believe that's the right site for your new headquarters and a little bit about our design. And we'll touch on schedule as well, and then we'll go to questions. As I think about how to get started, I pulled out the ITN, which we've got well read and dog-eared, and I just want to read a couple things here. It says, the goal of this ITN is to obtain a new Class A office space for JEA's corporate offices. An office space that will be functionally, securely, and conveniently serving employees, customers, and employees. So we're focusing on two things here. What's best for you and your employees as you're moving forward with a new facility, and then very importantly, your customers. And that's customers from two perspectives. The people, the 11,000 people that are coming to the facility per month, but also the greater community and what their perception of JEA is and what your footprint in building the community will be. It goes on to say the building must be located in an active urban environment and contribute to its vitality. We believe our site, the Block 48 site, is the best foot forward for JEA relative to active urban environment and contributing to its vitality. So I've handed out some books that have the slideshow that we're going to take you through, and we look forward to the questions at the end. So first, we start with We Build Stories. As we engage with every one of our customers, we recognize we're building a building, we're pulling together financing, we're constructing, we're designing. That's what we do. What we're really doing for you is building the story of who JEA is. It cannot be underemphasized. We're focusing on what's best for you as we build your story for the future. A little bit about who Ryan is. Some numbers here that capture pretty quickly who we are. We're founded in 1938, so we're celebrating our 80th year this year. The next number there, build-to-suit work. We've done over 30 million square feet of projects just like this. Build-to-suit, where we are bringing all of our resources to bear for our customers. Our 2018 had $1.7 billion worth of revenue, and we have over 1,200 employees across the country. On the bottom left there, you'll see our experience modification rate is 0.76. Being in the trade you are, safety, Aaron, you opened up with a safety briefing, extremely important. We're very proud of this number. This is how are we benchmarked to all the other commercial contractors in the United States. 0.76 is exceptionally low. We're proud of that number. It means we're very safe. And we've been here. We've worked on projects just like this. We have $4 billion worth of build-to-suit projects like this, owned, financed, designed, constructed by Ryan companies, over 167 projects. And you see on the right, we're national in scale. We've got offices throughout the country. I'm in our Tampa office, and we would be designing, building this with our entire resource base, but based in Tampa. The team we have here today, Pat Ryan, who is our third-generation chair. Happy to have you here, Pat. J.J. Connors, a local developer, been in Jacksonville his entire life. He's joined our team. Josh Ekstrand will tell you a little bit about our design. He's the director of design for Ryan Companies and will be the lead designer for this project. Mike Harriman is our construction leader in the Southeast. I am our president of our Southeast region, and I'll be the project executive for this project specifically. One of the things that's unique about Ryan is our team is our team. So we're not an LLC. We haven't pulled together equity from a certain area and partnered with the right folk. We're bringing Ryan Companies US Inc. The lease will not be a special purpose entity that's formed for this project. We're bringing Ryan Companies and 80 years of development and finance to bear here. We also have the ability to do collective insights. So we're, like I said, we're designing, we're constructing, capital markets, we're placing our own debt, real estate development, and real estate management. We're bringing all those insights as Ryan Companies to JEA. Here's an example of some of the build-to-suit clients that we've worked for. I'll just point out a couple here. On the bottom, toward the left, you'll see Tucson Electric Power. Very similar project to exactly what you're contemplating. Where did they go? On a downtown site in Tucson. Alliant Energy, this is in Cedar Rapids. This was a remodel of their corporate headquarters in downtown Cedar Rapids. Companies like Publix, companies like Amazon, Whole Foods, Mid-American Energy. We've worked for these companies. Great client list. So I'll just hit briefly on a couple of projects to give you a sample of and an idea of the scale. This is an Oracle campus, recently completed. It's 560,000 square feet in Austin, Texas. Here is that project I mentioned, the Tucson Electric Power headquarters, full block, downtown Tucson, 250,000 square feet, very similar to what you're all contemplating today. Nationwide headquarter operations center. This is in downtown Des Moines. Again, a full city block, a project that I worked on and Mike worked on. This building is the U.S. Bank Center in downtown Minneapolis. It's a 1 million square foot, 30-story office building that I worked on. This is, again, Ryan full service development and construction and design. It's a U.S. courthouse project, 280,000 feet in Cedar Rapids. The CRST Center, 220,000 feet, downtown full block development. This is a project we recently completed. This is the Wells Fargo downtown campus. So this is 2 buildings on 2 blocks, 1.3 million square feet. Josh, who'll be speaking in a minute here, he was the lead designer on this Wells Fargo project. Marina Heights, this is in Phoenix, Arizona, and it is a 2 million square foot project. It's one of the regional headquarters for State Farm. This was a $660 million project built to suit. And this one just broke ground under construction in the city of Austin, 250,000 square feet. It's their new planning and development center. And again, Ryan will be owning this and leasing this to the city of Austin. So that gives you a little idea of the scope. This is what we do, building projects just like this for you. There are a lot of different areas to be involved in the commercial real estate space. And we do touch many of those, but what we really do exceptionally well is corporate build-to-suit office. So we'll talk a little bit about our site, why Block 48, and JJ will do that for us.
Thank you, Doug. Good afternoon. Actually, I want to back up for just a second, go back to the introductions before I start talking about Block 48. As you noticed, I'm the only member of the team that's not part of the Ryan companies. And as I mentioned to staff in our meeting last week in our presentation, several months ago when the ITN came out, I had the opportunity to sit where you guys are sitting now and make a decision on whether or not to work with the Ryan companies. And my company is Jacksonville based. I'm the sole member of my company. I'm a commercial real estate developer. And so I get to choose all the projects that I do, all the people that I work with. And I always let integrity lead my decision making. I always want to do good projects with good people. And that was the first thing that struck me when I met Doug and then subsequently the rest of the team, that this is a team and a company of high integrity, and they do the right projects for the right reasons, and they do it very well. So I hope you'll find the same things when you look further into the Ryan companies. So back onto Block 48. As you can see in your books and on the screens, the site that we're proposing is the currently vacant lot immediately adjacent to the county courthouse green. It is in close proximity to the Class A core of multi-tenant office towers, and it's close to Hemming Plaza, City Hall. It's right in the Central Civic Core, and that leads us to our next slide. This is the Downtown Investment Authority's map of the downtown neighborhoods. This in green, you can see the Central Civic Core. This is where the downtown government center is. It's where Hemming Plaza is. It's where our Class A office is, and it's right in the center of this Central Civic Core is where our site is. It will be right in the center of everything that we call downtown. We didn't add this slide because of your questions. We already had it in here. But a couple of years ago, I was part of a team that worked with JEA in beginning this process of a headquarters redesign and relocation. And one of the components that came up then, as it has come up now, is proximity to public transportation to serve the constituency that comes in to pay their bills, to open accounts, as you mentioned. On this map, we see the transportation network in downtown Jacksonville, the bus lines, the Skyway lines. In red is your existing building. In yellow, outlined in red, is the site that we're proposing. So in very close proximity, so a lot of the same people who are taking public transportation to this facility can also take it to our proposed facility. We're also a block and a half from one Skyway stop, 2 blocks from another, and in the heart of all the transportation network. The other element that came up when we were doing the study several years ago was, what do the employees want? Where do the employees want to be? And we did an employee survey, and the highest percentage of employees, when asked what they liked about the existing location, was, we want to be close to downtown. We want access to downtown amenities and resources. And so this map shows the existing site, the proposed site, and then highlights all the amenities that currently exist today, all the restaurants, hotels, and other amenities that are in this area. Really, this slide is just a little bit zoomed out from the first one, and to me it captures everything about this site. You can see from quickly looking at it that it's right near all of the other government center buildings. It's right in the heart of the city with the Class A office and all the amenities that exist. So for all of these reasons, we really think that this is the best location. And if I could, I'm going to read a quote from an article that was published this week in the Jackson magazine. It was written by Ennis Davis. I'm going to quote him. A JEA selection of this site would be the exact definition of clustering complementing uses within a compact and pedestrian scale setting, which is the key ingredient and common characteristic of all vibrant urban centers across the country. I'm going to turn it back over to Josh now to talk a little bit about the design.
Thank you, JJ. After Doug touches on the schedule.
I'm sorry, we're going to talk schedule for a moment here. So this question's been asked, and we've got this incorporated. There are a couple milestones that I just want to point out here. If you go to the overall durations, if you go to the bottom here, you'll see that from award date to occupancy date, we're suggesting a 25-month schedule. So that's the overall from our suggested April 9th. If you fast forward, you'd be in the building in May of 2021. That's predicated on 2 things. One, we've got 5 months from award to when our deep foundations would start. That doesn't mean the design's complete. We've got a long design process, but we have enough information to design the structure of the building, which allows us to design the foundation system, which allows us to get on site and get started. And that's a process in itself, so it'll take some time to do that. We're already moving. So we've got 5 months of pre-construction before we're started, which of course does not mean complete design, but then we've got an overall duration of 25 months, which means a construction duration of 20 months. And we're indicating here on the 4th line, a lease agreement would be signed August 15th, which is about a month before we'd close on the property and start construction.
Thank you, Doug. So to talk a little bit about the design and what we've proposed to date and how that functions, we're going to look at some images of the existing building, or the proposal to date, as well as I'll walk you through the ground floor and parking and kind of how some of those things function. One thing I want to just point out starting out is that we have proposed a design with a responsible mix of exterior materials, architectural precast concrete, window wall and curtain wall exterior, and the most important thing to us is to make sure that this ultimately is the representation of JEA that you all want and that properly represents yourselves in the community. So I want to talk through the sort of employee focus that we take in our design and what we think is important, and then also just offer that this is all part of a dialogue and an iterative process of confirming that our assumptions from the information we got in the ITN are in fact correct. So one of the big things that employees are looking for today is an alignment with the values of the company. So having a presence in downtown, commitment to the community, and revitalizing the core of Jacksonville is a big statement towards for employees to understand what the company cares about, values, and also what customers see and experience. So another piece is kind of the overriding theme is choice, flexibility, and options. So that happens in both transit to and from work, working styles, working types, and working places. So safety and security are obviously paramount. We envision a welcoming open lobby that brings customers and clients and employees through it, through a single focused security checkpoint so that everyone can be properly vetted and brought through in a comfortable way. And then providing plenty of access to daylight, open work environment, exterior perimeter circulation, making sure that access to views out of the building as well as natural daylight in, just to give employees the maximum amount of exposure to natural conditions. The number of collaboration spaces and alternate work types that are provided is huge for making sure that employees are able to be the most effective at a given task. So having comfortable breakout areas with soft seating, having more structured collaboration areas in common corridors gives the ability to have impromptu meetings, have people kind of engage in various conversations that they might not be part of if someone is doing things at their desk completely isolated. On the other hand, you still need to provide for those things to happen because there are a lot of activities that need to be done by individuals. So having kind of the flexibility and options for different places and types of work to do and giving that to employees everywhere we can, including the outdoors. So we have on our 9th floor of the proposal an outdoor space that, as designed, is off of the cafeteria and fitness center. So this would be an outdoor dining space, could be used for outdoor meetings, a place to just bring your laptop or work surface to go and get some things done out in the elements. So with that, we are going to pull up the 3D model and just walk through a little bit of how the first floor of the building works. So this is also intended to be a representation to some extent of our working style. So as I said, we have an iterative process. We want to engage with all stakeholders in a way that everyone can understand what they're doing. So it is pretty standard for us to keep this, a model like this, in a format that we can speak to spaces and convey what the design is outside of the documentation model. So I'm going to cut down to the first floor and just highlight that the garage is on the site, separate structure from the building. You can see access for employees for the 760 stalls, as well as the 50 non-24 JEA vehicle stalls would be off of a secure independent access off of Julia Street. So those JEA vehicle stalls would be here and then on the floor above them. Visitor and guest stalls would all be accessed off of Monroe. So independent access, all users would pass through the same vestibule and elevator experience to get through the outdoor open space between the structures and then into a common corridor that brings everyone through that front lobby, as I said. So single point of security, so we look forward to working through with the security team exactly how to manage all of those things. But as a starting point, this gives us a secure, comfortable connection from parking all the way through the building. And then just looking at kind of how that stacks in section, you can see vehicle ramps stack on top of one another as you go up into the office parking floors. So last shot of just the kind of what those views are like out of the top level amenity space, outdoor workspace, and views towards downtown and out to the river.
All right, thank you, Josh. That concludes our presentation, and we're happy to entertain any questions.
Well, you anticipated a lot of the questions.
The benefit of going third, but I think we actually wove some of those right into the presentation.
Ms. Green?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Reverend Newville?
Same question.
Good for you.
Same consistency, wonderful.
Well, they didn't anticipate that one.
Mike Harriman is our construction leader in the Southeast, and he's going to answer the question about minority involvement.
Yes, thank you. So we have a 20% goal on every project that we do, not just this project, but certainly including this project. Similar to the senior living project we're doing on Tamaya Boulevard here in town, we maintain that 20% goal all the way around. And I guess I'd say the process goes something like this. As we recognize that our awarded projects, we proactively go into the community and have open houses to bring in minority and women-owned businesses to meet with them and to make sure that they're prepared to provide those bids to our company. And we have a diversity and inclusion team as well as a project team that are a part of those open houses to bring them, welcome them in, and make sure they're a part of the process.
Mr. Harriman, 20% goal, what's your history of meeting or exceeding the goal?
We've actually continued to meet and exceed the goal since we set the goal a number of years ago. And this past year, we exceeded the goal.
Thank you. Revenue bill? Remind me, Mr. Deek, the city of Jacksonville now controls Block 48?
That's correct. Yeah, we've spoke with Guy Parola a number of times, very specifically about the process of how we would go about acquiring that, and he's walked us through that. There would be an unsolicited bid process, which we would make, and then we would work through the nuances of what that is with the Downtown Investment Authority, and then they would have to go to a public bid for a 30-day process.
Thank you. And Ryan Companies, again, I went to your website, I wasn't able to discern, how much of your business is actually commercial office space of the type that we're talking about here?
I would say for the $1.7 billion for 2018, just looking at that, I would say roughly a third of that is projects just like this.
Okay.
Pat, is that about right?
That's correct. I like your tagline, "We build stories." I see what you did there.
Yeah, exactly.
Very clever.
Thank you.
Any follow-up questions?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your Mr. Ryan, please.
Yeah, before we wrap up.
Namesake.
Thank you for allowing us to present. I just wanted to conclude, one of the privileges that I have in my current position is to be able to travel the country and talk to people in leadership roles about their decision processes and how they go about discerning presentations like this. And you need a capable team. I think we have showed you that we are very capable and deep in experience. But what's most important to you is the next 20 years. It's not today. And so how do you marry that team, that objective, to what that goal is? And it comes down to people. We build stories. What do I mean by that? You need to find a place that attracts and retains people. Because over the next decade or two, the greatest challenge you will have, and virtually every other company in the United States, is attracting and retaining qualified, educated people. We find this all over the country. So what is the location? So it's place. What's the place that you're going to locate that? That's critical, number one. Number two is what's the best for the community. Great cities, you go around the world, have great, strong cores. If a city doesn't have a strong core, it is never going to be able to attain greatness as a city. So what strengthens that core? And then third, it's all about your employees and your customers. You've got 11,000 customers that are traveling to you monthly, many of whom are dependent on mass transit. That is the audience that you need to nurture and to help grow and to become more sustainable in their own lives. And so you've got to be most deferential to that subset of your customer base. And then you don't want to be a pioneer. What you want to do is you want to have established foundation in order to accomplish all of your other goals. And so that's why I have great confidence that what we have told you today and the terrific job our people are doing, here and nationally, I think we have an opportunity to do something great for your company. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Any other questions, follow-up questions? Hey, who do you guys rely on, Mr. Peak? You heard some of the earlier bidders talk about their team members. Do you have an established group of team members that you work with, office design, interior design, et cetera, engineers?
That's right. So our design team is led by Josh. So these are Ryan employees. That's on the architectural side. Our construction team will be Ryan employees. We'll be subcontracting locally most of those trades. There may be some national players, but I would say 95% will be local people doing work in Jacksonville. Our development team will be JJ and I, so you're seeing that. And then we will bring on some team members. So we're bringing on Terracon for an environmental component. We're bringing on TLC from a mechanical design component, Power electrical design, Kimley Horn from a civil design. So we've got the complete team, and all of those members, those additional members are all local companies.
How about the technology engineering?
Yeah, we will be relying on TLC and Power Electric to work with us. They're doing the low voltage in addition to the high voltage design.
Thank you.
I do
have
another question. Will you be working with any, like JSAB or anyone in JEA? I understand someone said that they'll be going in the community to develop those who are needed as it relates to your company.
Mm-hmm.
How much interaction would you have with our team? JSAB?
Yeah, that's a great question. So interacting with CBRE, who's representing you, you have hired a lot of electricians around this community, a lot of them, and many, many, many other trades, of course. We would be foolish not to say, who do you prefer to use? Is there anybody you don't prefer to use? And we envision sitting on the same side of the table as JEA and opening the bids, having a very open book process when it comes to procuring structural steel or external curtain wall. We're sitting at the same side of the table and saying, here's our recommended bid list, comparing that note. Here are the bids. Here's how they compare to the budget we've established. Here's our recommendation. What do you think? So that's something that's where the magic and the fun is, and we look forward to doing that.
Thank you.
So our philosophy, this is your building. It's not ours. We just happen to own it. So that's the mindset that we try to have all 1,200 of our people carry with them throughout every day.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Anything else? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
For your time.
Thank you.
So we've got a few minutes for open discussion. If anybody has questions, things that they want staff to follow up on, push back to the bidders. I'll just open it up to the board. Again, we're not making a decision today, but if there's anything that we want to push back to CBRE or our staff to follow up with bidders, anything that came up today that you'd like to push back to them.
Just the subcontractor information for the minorities from Cordish.
Okay, thank you.
I think it would be beneficial to get it for all of them.
For all of them, yeah. Each of them have addressed it verbally, but Nancy, if you could make a note of that.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? If anyone would like to make a public comment and has not completed a card, the next item on our agenda is public comment. So I've got one, Joe Carlucci. Sorry, I have a second one. Mr. Carlucci. Come to the podium. Your name and address, please.
So Joe Carlucci, 1251 Mundy Drive, Jacksonville, Florida.
Mr. Carlucci.
Thank you. I appreciate you doing a public hearing. This is great. I enjoyed the presentation. And I've been kind of keeping up with it and whatnot. I'm the president of the San Marco Merchants Association, which is a small business group here in San Marco. So in keeping up with it, I've been kind of doing my research on the decision, and y'all pushed the decision back, which I think was a really big decision, tough decision to do. With that, a couple of the members on the board's term is expiring in this month, 2019. How do y'all plan to handle that? Can you give any clarity on it, and which, the board members that are their terms limited out, are they still going to place a vote on it? Or are they going to carry into the decision that now is, I think, April?
Thank you, Mr. Carlucci. Appreciate your question. In response, I'd note that the bylaws of JEA and the board policy manual allow directors to serve until such time as their successors are nominated, approved by City Council, and seated. So I expect that, speaking for myself at least, I'll be here for another meeting or two. And I know Reverend Newbill is, I think, also going to be around for a couple of meetings. So I think your real point is, as involved as we've been in this process, it'd be a shame not to be here for the final decision. I think we'll be here for the final decision.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Mr. Carlucci. I also have a comment from John Nooney. Mr. Nooney, if you'd come to the podium, give your name and address, please. Welcome, Mr. Nooney.
Hello. Yeah, my name is John Nooney. My address is on file. And thank you for the opportunity to speak. And I'm just going to basically, and I hope your decision will make Jacksonville where it will be easier here. You know, I'm basically going to just go off my speaker card and just share with you some of the thoughts. You know, I am a JEA customer. And first, I applaud all three presentations. But in one of the presentations, someone said live, work, visit. But it used to be play, you know, for downtown. You know, and so what happened to play? Now, JEA, we all love acronyms. Jacksonville's Exceptional Access. You know, when it comes to our 4.8-mile river edge zone from the Fuller Bridge, you know, to the Matthews Bridge, you know, open our river. You know, 2014-560 is the legislation that created this DIA zone. And you know what? I've been here for a couple hours. I've looked out the window. I haven't seen one boat. Well, maybe one. But you know what? We really want to open up the river. So here's a couple of other thoughts. You know, as far as the corporate headquarters, JEA headquarters, you know, not at the shipyards. Will a yes vote by the JEA board mean that the memorial wall will have to be moved? How about the ramps? What implications, you know, will that have? You know, we told the USS Adams, you know, bye-bye. As for the other one, you know, not at the former JEA location on the South Bank, 2016, 18. You know, that had to do with our fine projects. You know, when people say to me, John, we're getting all this public access, economic opportunity on our waterways, I say, no, we're not. We're going to crush you. Yeah, just crush you. So anyway, you know what? How about on the third location, the Ryan Companies, U.S.? You know what? It's closer to I-10, the rail yards. You know, medical facilities. You know, I think it's a better location. Do you all remember? I'm just down to 50 seconds. Craig Fouquet, you know, Division of Emergency Management. You know, he headed up FEMA, Federal Emergency, you know, FEMA. And, you know, the point I'm getting at right here is in the event of a natural disaster, the ability to transport large numbers of people via the waterway to the back of a medical facility should be there. Also, you know, you're just building the JTA, Jacksonville Transportation Association, you know, headquarters right there. I would think you would want the JEA headquarters right there. You know, I'm just down to, you know, 19, you know, seconds. So anyway, I hope that with your consideration, you know, I heard the presentations. I think, you know, these guys, give them a shot, the Ryan Group. And so let's make it easier here. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Nooney. Appreciate your comments and inputs. So that concludes the scheduled agenda items. Our next board meeting will be February 26th. We will be negotiating with all of the bidders between now and March 11. I anticipate that we will have an opportunity to have follow-up discussions. Each board member should take advantage of the opportunity to speak with staff and CBRE and get more information to enlighten their decision-making process. And before we adjourn, I just note that on one happy moment, we'd like to welcome Annabelle Emma Zahn. Came to Aaron and Brennan this past Friday. Yep. With that, we stand adjourned.